Chapter 4, Extinguishment of Obligation. Article 1231. Obligations are extinguished to 6 ways. First, by payment or performance. Number 2, by the loss of the thing due. Number 3, by the condonation or remission of the debt. Number 4, by the confusion or merge of the right or creditor and debtor. Number 5, by compensation. Number 6, by novation. Other causes of extinguishment of obligation, such as annulment, rescission, fulfillment of a restitutory condition, and prescription, are governed elsewhere in this code. Article 1232, or payment or performance. Payment means not only the delivery of money but also the performance in any other manner of an obligation. Example, Jose option to buy for 1 week. Example, Jose option to buy a car for 1 week. So, wala pang obligation kasi hindi pa siya bumibili ng sasakyan. Jose buy the car. There is obligation now to pay in order to extinguish the obligation. In this article also, we will know what is the creditor, debtor, and payment. Creditor is the obligee, while the debtor is the obligor. Article 1233. Kailan ba mako-considered na bayad na ang isang debt? Ito. Integrity of the presentation. Presentation be fulfilled completely. Dahil kung hindi pa mako-considered na bayad ang isang debt. Example, S obliged himself to deliver 100 sacks of rice to 8. S deliver only 90 sacks. Under the law, there is no payment to S, and B can refuse to pay for the 90 sacks if does not deliver what is lacking. Our next requisite is identity of presentation. This second requisite means that every presentation due must be delivered or performed. Example, dapat kung ano ang pinag-usapan ay yun dapat. Example, if the debt is a Conquest Hilux, the payment should be a Conquest Hilux, not a GTR or a house. And also, in this article, hindi si creditor ang dapat mag-show ng proof na hindi pa siya bayad, kundi si debtor. A good proof is the presentation of receipt. That is why you should always ask for receipt, because it is your right. Article 1234, or also known as substantial performance in good faith. The requisites in here is number 1, there must be a substantial performance. Number 2, the obligor must be in good faith. In this article, it tells us that the obligor may recover as though there have been a strict and complete fulfillment and less damage. For example, S obliged himself to deliver 5,000 bags of cement to B for a certain price. However, despite diligent effort on his part, S was able to deliver only 400 bags because of shortage. Take note, S wants to comply with his obligation to deliver the entire 500 bags, but he could not do so for the reason beyond his control. So, under Article 1234, S can recover as though there have been complete delivery less the price of the 100 bags. S must show, however, that he attempted in good faith to comply in the obligation. So, ang mangyayari dito, babayaran lang ng bumili yung 400 bags at saka magbabayad yung debtor for the damages. Kasi nga, in good faith naman sila. And sinubukan din naman ng debtor na i-deliver lahat. Article 1235. In this article, the creditor still received the payment knowing that there are damages or lacking, and with that, the debt can be considered as pay. The principle used in this is the principle of estoppel, meaning now you are stopped to question. Knowing that there is a lacking, you still receive it, and this principle you have waived your right. For example, X agreed to paint the house of Y according to their stipulation. X would use particular brand of paint. If Y accepted the performance of X, knowing that the paint used was another brand and without expressing any process or objection, the obligation is deemed fully applied with. So, accepted. So, the obligation is fully deemed.
Article 1236. The creditor is not bound to accept payment or performance by third person who has no interest in the fulfillment of the obligation unless there is a stipulation to the contrary. Whoever pays for the another may demand from the debtor what he was paid, except that if he paid without the knowledge or the against of the will of the debtor, he can recover only insofar as the payment has been beneficial to the debtor. Person from whom the creditor must accept payment. First is the debtor. Second, any person who has an interest in the obligation like a guarantor. And lastly, a third person who has no interest in the obligation when there is a stipulation that he can make payment. Creditor may refuse payment by a third person. Under the old civil code, the creditor cannot refuse payment by a third person, but the commission believes that the creditor should have a right to insist on the liability of the debtor. Moreover, the creditor should not have compelled to accept payment from a third person whom he may dislike or the creditor distrust, may not for personal reasons desires to have any business dealings with third person, or the creditor may not have confidence in the honesty of the third person, of who might to deliver a defective thing or pay with a check which may not be honored. Effect of payment by a third person. The second paragraph of Article 1236 recognizes that payment or performance may be made by any person not incapacitated, even without the knowledge or against the will of the debtor, and although he has absolutely no interest in the obligations, if made without the knowledge or against the will of the debtor, the payer can recover from the debtor only insofar as the payment has been beneficial to the latter. Paragraph 2. In other words, the recovery is only up to the extent or amount of the debt at the time payment. Number 2, or paragraph 2. If made with the knowledge of the debtor, the payer shall have the rights of reimbursement and subrogation, that is to recover what he was paid, not necessarily the amount of the debt, and acquire all the rights of the creditor. So, for the example, D owes C the sum of 11,000. If S is a stranger to the obligation, offers to pay C, the latter may or may not accept the offer of payment. Suppose C accepts the right of 5 to recover from D depends upon whether the payment is with or without the knowledge or consent of D. So, without the knowledge or against the will of D, if the actual indebtedness is 1,000 and S paid 1,000, he can ask reimbursement for 1,000. But if 400 had already been paid by D, then S is entitled to be reimbursed only for the amount of 600, because it is only to that amount that D has been benefited. S can recover 400 pesos from C, who should not accepted it. If C acted in a bad faith, he is liable also for the interest in liability of damage. 2. With the knowledge of D, either case if the payment of 1,000 pesos was made with the knowledge or consent of D, S can recover from D 1,000 pesos with all the rights of subrogation to the accessory obligations such as mortgage, guarantee, or penalty. So let's go with Article 1237. Whoever pays on behalf of the debtor without the knowledge or against the will of latter cannot compel the creditor to subrogate him in his rights such as those arising from mortgage, guarantee, or penalty. Right of third person subrogation. Whoever pays on behalf of the debtor is entitled to subrogation if the payment is with the consent or of the latter. If the payment is without the knowledge or against the will of the debtor, the third person cannot compel the creditor to subrogate him in the latter accessory right of the mortgage, guarantee, or penalty. May there be a subrogation if the creditor is willingly permits the payer to be subrogated in his rights. Since the provision of Article 1237 is for the benefit of the debtor, the subrogation can only take place with his consent. The third person who without necessity paid under such as condition is amply protected by his rights to reimbursement. Legal subrogation by operation of law is presumed in certain cases. Subrogation in reimbursement is distinguished. Number 1, in subrogation, the person who pays for the debtor is put into the shoes of the creditor. The payer acquires not only the right to reimburse for he has paid, but also all the rights which the creditor could have exercised pertaining to the credit either against the debtor or against third person. The guarantors or processor of the mortgages. Number 2, in reimbursement, the third person entitled by reason of payment has merely the bare right to be refunded to the extent provided in the second paragraph of Article 1236 without the right to the guarantees and securities of the original obligation in subrogation. However, there is no real extinction of the obligation but only change of the creditor. Example: D borrowed from C of the sum of 10,000 pesos. G is the guarantor without the knowledge or consent of D. S paid C 10,000 pesos. In this case, 5 can claim reimbursement from D for the whole amount of 10 pesos inasmuch as D was benefited up to the amount. If D cannot pay S, the latter cannot process against G. The guarantor, even if C is willing, because having paid without the consent of D, S is not entitled to subrogation, but if payment was with the expenses or tacit approval of D, S would be entitled not merely to full reimbursement but also from subrogation. Suppose the obligation of D is secured by mortgage of land owned by D. Payment by 5 without the knowledge or against the will of D cannot give S the right of subrogation. S can recover only insofar as the payment has been beneficial to D. So let's go with Article 1238. Payment made by a third person who does not intend to be reimbursed by the debtor is deemed to be donation which requires the debtor consent, but the payment is in any case valid as to the creditor who has accepted it. Payment by a third person who does not intend to be reimbursed. So Article 1238 embodies the idea that no one should be compelled to accept the generosity of other. Report of the Code Commission, paragraph 132. If the payment third person does not intend to be reimbursed, the payment is deemed a donation which requires the debtor consent to be valid. However, if the creditor accepts the payment, it shall be valid as him to and the payer, although the debtor did not give his consent to the donation. So for example, D owes C the sum of 10,000 pesos. Without the intention of being reimbursed, S paid D obligation. So D had previously accepted S generosity. In this case, D is not liable to 5 of his obligation is extinguished. But if D did not accept consent to the donation, S may recover from D since there has been no donation, although originally S did not intend to be reimbursed. Nevertheless, the obligation of D to C is extinguished because the payment is valid to C was accepted. Can D legally refuse the payment of S instead of insist on paying C? So, no. So, let's go with Article 1239. Article 1239 is in obligation to give payment made by one who does not have free disposal of one thing due to incapacity of alienate. It shall not be valid without the prejudice to the provision of Article 1427 under the title on natural obligations. Meaning of free disposal of thing due and capacity to alienate. Number 1 is free disposal of the thing due means that the thing to be delivered must not be subject to any claim or alien or encumbrance. Example is mortgage or pledge of a third person. So number 2, capacity to alienate means that the person is not incapacitated to enter into contracts. Article 1327 and Article 1329, you must see it and or review it. And so for that matter, to make a disposition of the thing due. So free disposal of thing due and capacity to alienate required as a general rule in obligation to give payment by one who does not have free disposition of the thing due and capacity to alienate is not valid. This means that the thing paid can be recovered. The exception is provided in Article 1427. The creditor cannot be compelled to accept payment where the person paying has no capacity to make it. Example is 5 agreed to sell to B a television set. If the television set delivered to B by 5 belongs to C, the same can be recovered by C because the payment is not valid. S does not have free disposal of television set. The same right of recovery exists although the television set belongs to 5. If he is the minor and therefore has no capacity to alienate it. Number 2, under the Article 1427, if S is a minor between 18 and 21 years old, and he voluntarily pays a sum of money of delivers in a fungible thing like rice, to be in fulfillment of his obligation, there shall be no right recovered the same from B in case the latter has spent or consumed in good faith. So let's go with Article 1240. Article 1240, payment shall be made to the person in whose favor obligation has been constituted or his successor in interest or any person authorized to receive it. Person to whom payment shall be made. Payment shall be made to number 1, the creditor or obligee. Number 2, his successor in interest. Number 3, any person authorized to receive it. So the creditor referred to must be the creditor at the time payment is to be made, not to the constitution of the obligation. Hence, if a person is subrogated to the right of the creditor, payment should yield by made to the new creditor. Example, D owes C the sum of 1,000 pesos in this case. D must pay C or any person authorized by C or in case of his death, his heirs or any person authorized by law. Payment to any person is not valid except as provided in Article 1241, Paragraph 2. That D acted in the good faith in paying to the wrong party is not an excuse. So meaning of any person authorized to receive it is as used in Article 1240, it means not only person authorized by the creditor, but also a person authorized by law to receive the payment, such as guardian, executor, or administration of the estate of a deceased, and assignee or liquidator of partnership or corporation, as well as any other person who may be authorized to do so by law. Under Article 1242, payment in good faith to any person is in possession of credit is valid although such person may not be authorized to receive the payment. So Article 1241, payment to a person who is incapacitated to administer his property shall be valid if he has keep the thing delivered or insofar as the payment has been beneficial of him. Payment made to a third person shall also be valid insofar as it has been redundant to the benefit of the creditor, such as benefit to the creditor need not to be proved of the following case. Number one, if after the payment the third person acquires the creditor's rights. Number two, if the creditor ratifies the payment to the third person. And lastly, if by the creditor's conduct the debtor has been led to the belief that the third person had authority to receive the payment. So the effect of payment to an incapacitated person. Payment to a person incapacitated to administer or manage his property is not valid unless such as incapacitated person keep the thing or paid or deliver. So that is not necessarily that it should have been invested in some profitable venture or he was benefited by the payment. In the absence of his benefit, the debtor may be made to pay again by the creditor's guardian or by the incapacitated person himself when he acquires or recovers his capacity. Proof of such benefit in incumbent upon the debtor who paid. So example is D delivers the sum of 1,000 pesos to C, a minor under guardianship in a payment of debt. C loses 700 of the payment in gambling or due to negligence or ignorance. In this case, the payment should be considered as made only to the extent of 300. On the other hand, if C keep the money paid or spent it on purpose useful to him, the payment shall be valid. Otherwise, C would unduly enrich himself at the expense of D. Effect of payment by a third person. Payment to a third person or wrong party is not valid except insofar as it's redundant to the accept of the creditor. That the creditor was benefited by payment by the debtor to a third person is not presumed and must therefore be satisfactorily established by the person interested in proving by the fact. In the absence of such proof, payment thereof in error in good faith will not deprive the creditor of his rights to the demand of when benefit to the creditor need not to be approved by the debtor, but the debtor is not relieved from proving benefit to the creditor in case of number one, subrogation of the payer in the creditor's right, 2, ratification by creditor, or 3 is estoppel on the part of the creditor. In such cases, the benefit to the creditor is to be presumed. Through estoppel, an admission or representation is rendered conclusive upon the person making it and cannot be denied or disproved as against the person relying thereon. So example, T is indebted to C in the amount of 1,000 pesos. On the date of maturity of the obligation, payment was made by D to T, a third person. In this case, D is still liable to C if T delivered 700 to C. The payment by D is valid only to the extent of 700, but D must prove the delivery to C. Such proof, however, it's not necessarily if after payment T acquired C's right against D, or C ratified or subsequently consistent to the payment to T, or if before payment D has been led to the belief C's conduct or fault that I had the authority to receive the payment, even if T had any fact no such as authority. Article 1242, payment made in good faith to any person in possession of the credit shall release the debtor. Payment to the third person is possession of credit. The article was given another instance when there is valid payment to a third person. It must be observed that the possession referred to under the above provision is upon his possession of the credit itself, and not merely of the document or instrument evidencing the credit, hence mere possession of the instrument, unless the transferable by delivery does not entitle the holder to the payment, thus payment release the debtor. Furthermore, the payer must act in a good faith that is in the honest belief that he is making a valid payment and that the payee is the owner of the credit. Good faith is presumed. Example, D is indebted to the C in the amount of 1,000 pesos, which indebtedness is evidenced by a promissory note signed by D in favor of C, lost the promissory note, which is later found by T, who has demanded payment from D. Payment to T is not valid because T is the possessor merely of the document evidencing the credit and not to the credit of itself. If the promissory note is payable, the bearer or holder negotiably instrument loan, Act number 2031, Section 9. The obligation will be extinguished if D pays T in good faith. Similarly, if the promissory note was endorsed by C to T under a private agreement that T would not collect from D, payment by D in good faith to T will also extinguish the debt. The right of C will be against T.
Section 2. Loss of the thing due. When do we consider a thing lost? When the object disappears, and cannot be recovered. In this section, we will be tackling about the losses and the impossibility of performance. Article 1262, or loss of specific thing. In this article, when the specific thing is lost, the obligation is extinguished. But note that it should be without the fault of the debtor at bago pa man magkaroon ng delay. But also, there are exemption. These are when the law says so or stipulation pag nasa kontrata ng parties. At sabi din dun sa huling paragraph that obligation requires the assumption of risk. An example of this is the insurance. Next, Article 1263, or also known as loss of generic thing. In this article, if the generic thing is lost, the debtor is still liable because in this article it does not extinguish the obligation under the principles of genus non quam perit, or genus never perish. Genus never perish, it states that an obligation involving a generic thing control cannot be extinguished by fortuitous event. Fortuitous events are calamities. As the thing can be replaced by another of the same kind or quality. At sinasabi rin dito sa article na ito na kapag papalitan mo yung generic thing na nawala, dapat hindi labis at hindi kulang, tama lamang ito. Example number 1. S promised to deliver 100 kabans of rice to B. The 100 kabans of rice which S intended to deliver was lost in a flood. S is liable to B because his obligation is to deliver a generic thing. Wala namang sinabing specific na thing, generic thing, and it can still be paid from another sources. Example number 2. Look at this example. Suppose the obligation of S is to deliver 100 kabans of rice from the harvest made by him, and such harvest is completely destroyed or lost. Is the obligation extinguished? Yes, because the rice is stipulated to be delivered is confined to a particular class that must be considered a determinate thing. Note that there is an exemption, and that is delimited generic. Article 1264, or effect of partial loss to specific thing. In this article naman, it says that there are partial loss that are so significant that it loses its importance or responsibility, and it can be considered as a total loss. For example, pag nawala mo yung body ng ballpen, partial lang naman yung nawala, kaso significant yung damage, hindi ka na makakasulat. Okay, so more example. S obliged himself to deliver to B specific racehorse. The racehorse met an incident as a result of which it suffered a broken leg. The injury is permanent. So, kung makikita nyo dito, hindi naman namatay yung horse, kaso yung specific kasi doon is racehorse sila at nagkaroon sila ng injury na permanent pa. Kaya parang totally lost na ito. Pag ganito sana yung example, if the horses to be delivered is to be slaughtered by B, the injury is clearly not important. Pag ganun sana yung scenario, magbabayad lang si B ng damage para sa injury ng horse. Kaso, specific nga racehorse sila. Kaya nawala yung ability nila or responsibility nila, kaya mako-considered silang total loss. But also, take note that in this article, the court will decide whether the loss is total loss. Ang court nilang ang pwedeng magdesisyon kung ang loss ay totally loss talaga. Article 1265. In this article, it says that when the thing is lost under the debtor's possession, it shall be presumed that the loss was due to his fault. But with the word presumption, the debtor can overcome it by presenting evidence of his innocence. Also, if the thing to be delivered was destroyed by natural calamity, the debtor is not liable in any case. In order for you to understand, we shall see the examples. Example number 1. D borrowed the car of C on the due date of the obligation. D told C that the car was stolen and that he was not at fault. That is not enough to extinguish this obligation. It is presumed that the loss was due to his fault. Hence, kung may ebidensya siyang mapapatunayan na hindi talaga niya fault. Pero, with this speculation, the debtor is still at his fault. Example number 2. Suppose the house of D was destroyed because of fire. It is admitted that there was a fire and it was accidental, and that the car was in the house at the time it occurred. Here, D is not liable unless he proves fault on the part of D. Article 1266. In this article, it says that impossibility of performance to personal obligation without the fault of the obligator. True, legal, or physical impossibility. Kapag may batas na nagbabawal sa kanya upang gampanan ang kanyang tungkulin, at kapag physically incapacity siya, ay ma-extinguish ang kanyang obligation. Physical incapacity, ang example nito, the obligator die or become physically incapacitated to perform the obligation. Legal impossibility, the obligation cannot be performed because it is rendered impossible by provision of law. In every contract, it is that the promisor shall be released from his obligation if performance is rendered impossible by law. Example ng physical impossibility. Example number 1. D obliged himself to paint a picture for C to be finished within a month. 1 week after the obligation was constituted, D met an incident as a result of which his arm were amputated. Ang sinabi dito, here, the obligation of D has become physically impossible. Na-amputate nga yung kamay niya. So, D is therefore released from his obligation. May exception din dyan. The rule does not apply where D bound himself absolutely to finish the painting irrespective or whether his failure is caused by unavoidable accident or for any reason, in which case he shall liable to pay damage for non-performance. Example naman ng law impossibility. D agreed to contract a commercial building for C. The government refused to issue a building permit because the area has been declared by law as residential zone. The obligation of D is therefore extinguished because it has become legally impossible. Here, the performance of the presentation is directly prohibited by the law. Article 1267. In this article, when service is so difficult, the obligator may be released from his obligation. Also, the general rule in this article is that impossibility of performance release the obligator. In order to understand this, we need to go to the example. Example, D agreed to construct a road near a mountain. A very strong typhoon caused an avalanche, making the construction of the road dangerous to human lives, which was not foreseen or contemplated by the parties. So, ang ruling dito, in this case, D may be released in the whole or part from his obligation to continue with the construction. Article 1268. In this article, it says that when the death of that thing came from a criminal offense, he is still liable of any loss, whether the loss came from a fortuitous event. But also, if the creditor refused to accept the return, he is in mora accipient, or the refusal of the creditor to the debtor, but still, the debtor is still liable. To understand this, we need to go to the example. Example, D stole the jeep of C. The word stole. D has the obligation to return the jeep of C. The obligation of D arises from an act of punishable by law. Ito na yung sinasabi natin, criminal offense. And this is the rule. Even if the jeep is destroyed without the fault of D, he shall be liable for the payment of its price. Article 1269, or right of the creditor to proceed against third person. In this article, it gives the creditor power to go against a third person in the stipulation contrata in order to protect her interests. In order for you to understand this, we need to get to the example. So, example, S is obliged to deliver to B a specific horse. The horse is lost through the fault of T. Ang ruling dito, the obligation of S is extinguished and he is not liable to B. Such being the case, S would not be interested in going after T. Kasi nga, hindi si S yung nakawala ng horse, kundi si T. So, the law, however, protects B by giving him the right to bring an action against T to recover the price of the horse with damage.
Section 4, Confusion or Rights of Merger. And Article 1275, the obligation is extinguished from the time the character of creditor and debtor are merged in the same person. And meaning of confusion or merger. Confusion or merger is the meeting in one person of the qualities of the creditor and with respect to the same obligation. And reason or basis for confusion. The law treats confusion or merger as a mode of extinguishing obligation because if a debtor is his own creditor, enforcement of the obligation becomes absurd since a person cannot claim payment from himself. And furthermore, when there is a confusion rights of rights, the purpose of which the obligation may have been created are deemed realized. And requisites of confusion. Number 1, it must be placed between the principal debt and creditor, and 2, it must be complete. For example,
D owes C 10,000, for which D executed a negotiable promissory note in the vote of C. C endorsed the note to E, who in turn endorsed it to F. Now, F bought goods from the store of D. Instead of paying cash, F endorsed the promissory note to D. Here, D owes himself, consequently his obligation is extinguished by merger. So that's it. And 1276, merger which take place in the person of the principal, debtor, and creditor, benefits of the guarantor. The confusion may take place in the person of any latter does not extinguish the obligation. And effect of merger in the person of principal, debtor, or creditor. Merger is the person of the principal, debtor, or creditor extinguish the obligation, hence the accessory obligation. Under Section 50 of the Negotiable Instrument Law, where an instrument is negotiated back to a prior party, such party reissue and further negotiate the same. This may be considered as an exemption to the rule in Article 1275 of guarantees, also extinguished in accordance with principle that the accessory follows the principal. And so, for example, D is indebted to C, with G as guarantor. The merger of the character of debtor and creditor in D shall free G from liability as guarantor. Similarly, merger which take place in the person of C benefits of G because the extinction of the principal obligation carries with that of the accessory obligation of guarantee. Effect of merger in the person of guarantor. The extinguishment of the accessory obligation does not carry with it that of the principal obligation. Consequently, merger which take place in the person of the guarantor, while it extinguish the guarantee, leaves the principal obligation in force. So, for example, suppose in the example above, C assigned his credit to E, who in turn assigned the creditor to G, the guarantor. In the case, the contract of guarantee is extinguished. However, the obligation to pay the principal obligation subsists. So, G now as the new creditor can demand payment from D. So, that's it. And 1277, Article 1277. Confusion does not extinguish a joint obligation, except as regards to share corresponding to the creditor or debtor in whom the two characters concur. Confusion and joint obligation. In joint obligation, there are many debts as their debtor, as many creditors as their creditors. The debts and or credits being considered distinct and separate from one another. So each debtor has his own creditor to whom he is liable, and confusion take place in the person of any debtor or creditor does not affect the ones. In other words, the confusion will extinguish only the share corresponding to the creditor or debtor in whom the two characters concur. Example, A and B and C are jointly liable to D in the amount of 9,000. Evidence by a negotiable promissory note. D endorsed the note to E, who in turn endorsed it to A. In that case, A's share in the obligation is extinguished because of confusion in his person. However, the indebtedness of B and C in the amount of 3,000 each remain because of them there is no confusion. Consequently, B and C would be liable to A, the new creditor, of 3,000 pesos each. Confusion in a solidary obligation. Merger in the person of the solidary debtor shall extinguish the entire obligation because it also merger in the other solidary debtors. Remember that in the solidary obligation there is only one obligation and every debtor is individually responsible for the payment of the whole obligation. So, he makes payment, claim reimbursement from his co-debtor for the share with the correspondent to them. For example, in the example given, if the obligation of A and B and C is solidary, the endorsement to A extinguish the entire obligation of 9,000. A can demand reimbursement from B and C. And the basis of rights of A is not origin obligation, which has been extinguished by confusion, and which takes in his person, but the confusion itself, if it's as if A paid the entire debt, he can therefore collect the proportionate share belongs to B and C on an implied contract of reimbursement. Section 5, Compensation. Article 1278, compensation shall take place when two persons in their own right are creditors and debtors of each other. And meaning of compensation. Compensation is the extinguishment to the concurrent amount of debt of two persons in their right own are debtors and creditors of each other. And for example, A owes B the amount of 1,000 and B owes A the amount of 700. So both debts are due and payable today. Here, the compensation take place partially. That is the concurrent amount of 700. So A shall be liable to B for only 300 pesos only. If the two debts are in the same amount, there is a total compensation. The two debts are extinguished without actual transfer of money between the parties. Kapag partial naman, kung mas malaki yung isa, tapos mas mababa yung isa, magiging partial. Magiging liable lang kapag nabayadan na yung partial o yung kulang. Kapag parehas naman ng amount, the compensation, there is a total compensation. So, kahit walang payment, the compensation take place. Object of compensation. The object of compensation is the prevention of unnecessary litigation and payments. This is accomplished through the mutual extinguishment by operation of law concurring debts of two. And compensation and confusion distinguish. The difference are, in confusion, there is only one person who is a compensation, their creditor and debtor of himself, while in com are two persons involved, each of whom is a debtor and creditor of each other. And 2. In confusion, there is but one obligation, while in compensation, there are two obligations. And 3. In confusion, there is impossibility of payment, while in compensation, there is indirect payment. And kinds of compensation. And total when both obligations are of the same amount and entirely extinguished. Sinasabi lang dyan, when both obligation on the same amount, so entirely extinguished siya. B. Partial, when the two obligations are of different amounts and balance remain. The extinctive effect of compensation will be partial only as regard to the larger debt. Kasi may obligation pang natira. So, to its cause or origin. A. Legal when it takes place by operation law even without knowledge of the parties. Basta lahat ng requisite is complete. Yun yung sinasabi sa A. Sabi naman, voluntary, when it takes place by agreement of the parties. Basta may agreement sila, may extinguish yung compensation. And C. Judicial, when it takes by other form of litigation. Strictly speaking, judicial compensation is merely a form of legal voluntary compensation. When he declared by the court by virtue of an action by one of the parties who refused to admit it by defense of the other who invokes. And D. Facultative, when it can be set only by one of the parties. Hindi kailangan lahat ng requisite ay kailangan. So, yung isang parties magsasabi kung i-compensate niya or hindi. So, for example, sa facultative, A owes B 10,000 due to December 15, and B also owes A 10,000. Due date is on or before December 30. So, B can pay whenever he like December 29 or on the due date. And B can claim compensation because he can choose to pay his debt. And A cannot claim compensation because hindi pa due date ni B. So, baka malito kayo sa facultative and voluntary. Yung voluntary kasi, iba siya. Voluntary because facultative compensation is unilateral, iisa lang. Sa voluntary is a mutual concept. Silang dalawa ang nag-agree. So, move on to Article 1279. In order that compensation may be proper, it is necessary. And Article 1279 enumerates the requisite of compensation. Absent any showing all of the requisites, the present compensation may not take place. Requisite of legal compensation. The parties are principal, creditors, and debtors of each other. So, for example nyan. Example, A owes B 1,000 pesos and B owes A 1,000 pesos. Compensation will take place because A, B are a principal, debtors, and creditor of each other. So, here's another example. A owes B 1,000 with cash as a guarantor, and B owes C 1,000. There will be no compensation between B and C because while B is principal liable to C, C is merely subsidiarily liable to B. Hence, C cannot demand payment from B. Kasi C hindi naman siya creditor, hindi naman siya debtor, creditor lang siya. So, hindi siya naging creditor and debtor of each other, kaya there's no compensation take place. And the two both debts consist in sum of money or of consumable things of the same kind and quality. So, example, A owes B 1,000 and B owes A an electric range worth of 1,000. No compensation will take place because it's not same kind and quality. Although consumable, but it says in the second requisite that the both debt consists of consumable thing of the same kind and quality. Kung same man, yun magte-take place sila. And isa pa. Another example. A obliged himself to deliver 10 sacks of rice while B obliged himself to deliver to A 10 sack of corn. Compensation will not take place because things due are not on the same kind. Neither will be compensation if the obligation of A is to deliver sack of makan rice while that B is to deliver 10 sack of fagwag rice. So that's it. Let's move on to the third requisites. The third requisite is the two debts are due or demandable. Ibig sabihin lang yan is yung due has arrived or condition has been fulfilled. If you say is demandable, no debts has prescribed debts or valid and legal, pwede talaga siya ma-demand. So, for example, A owes 1,000 due today and B owes A 1,000 due next month. Compensation cannot take place as the debt are not due on the same date. However, if A has not yet paid B on the date that the obligation of B becomes due, there will be compensation on that date. If the debtor of B is subject to suspensive condition which has not yet happened, there can also be no compensation. Because debts are not due or the same debt. Pero kapag hindi nakabayad si B, ay hindi nakabayad si A sa due date niya, which is today, B can demand for compensation, pero si A cannot demand compensation kasi hindi pa due ni B. So here's the fourth requisite that two debts are liquidated. So, example, A owes B 1,000 and B and both A the share of the latter in business, the amount of which still be ascertained. Compensation will not take place as the debt of B is not liquidated. So, big sabihin lang yan is because the debt of B is not liquidated, unknown pa. But if B has been liquidated, let's say 1,000, then compensation will take place. So requisite number 5, no retention or controversy commenced by a third person. This negative requisite for legal compensation. The other such requisite is the compensation is not prohibited by law. Of course, compensation will not take place whether there is a waiver. This is said to be retention. When the credit of one of the parties is subject to the satisfaction of the claims of a third person, while controversy exists when a third person claim he is the creditor of the one parties. For example, A owes B 10,000 pesos and B owes A 10,000 pesos. And B also owes C 10,000 pesos. C caused the garnish of the creditor of B against A and notify A not to pay 10,000 as C has a better right to the said amount. So B not owe C, but the latter claims that he and not B is the creditor of A. In the case of compensation cannot take place between A and B in view of controversy commenced by C, a third person. In the meantime, the compensation is suspended. So, if C lost the case, compensation shall be deemed to have place as the date the requisite of legal compensation concurred. So, Article 1280, notwithstanding the provision of the preceding article, the guarantor may set up compensation as regards what the creditor may owe the principal debtor. So, compensation benefits guarantor. This article is an exemption to the general rule that only the principal debtor can set up against his creditor what the latter owes him. Although the guarantor is subsidiary, not principally bound, he is given the right to set up compensation. The reason is the extinguishment of the principal obligation as a consequence of compensation carries with accessory obligation such as guarantee. So, for example, A owes B 1,000 with G as guarantor, and B owes A 1,000 pesos. Here, the obligation of guarantee is extinguished by the compensation. But if the compensation is only partial, A cannot pay the balance, G will be liable for the said balance. So, that's it. So, Article 1281, compensation may be total or partial. When the two debts are of the same amount, there is a total compensation. And total and partial compensation, total or partial compensation applies to all the different kinds of compensation. Total result when the two debts are of the same amount. If they are different amounts, compensation is a total as regard the smaller debt and partial only with respect to the larger debt. So that's it. So, Article 1282, the parties may agree upon the compensation debt which are not yet due. So, voluntary compensation, this provision of law is exemption to the general rule that only debts which are due and demandable can be compensated. So, the requisite under 12, so the, So, 1284, Article 1284. If one of the parties to a suit over an obligation has claim for damages against the other, the former may set it off by providing his right to said damage and the amount thereof. Judicial compensation. Judicial compensation may also take place when so declared by final judgment of court. In a suit, a part may set off his claim for damages against his obligation to the party by providing his right to said damage and the amount thereof. So, for example, A owes B 1,000. When B demanded payment, A failed to pay. In anger, B damaged the property of A to the extent of 800 pesos. So, A can set up the obligation of B to pay him damages in the amount of 800 against his debt of 1,000. So, may exemption siya sa 1281. At that time of the pleading, the claim is not yet liquidated kasi yung liquidation yung determine ng amount must be made in progress. So, Article 1284, when or both debts are seizable or voidable, they may be compensated against each other before they are judicially rescinded or avoided. Compensation of rescindable or voidable debts. Receivable and voidable obligation are valid until they judicially rescinded or voided. Prior to the prescission or annulment, the debt may be compensated against each other. For example, those D owes C 1,000 pesos. So, subsequently, D through fraud was also able to make C sign the promissory note that is indebted to D for the same amount. The debt of D is valid, but that of C is voidable. Before the debt is C is nullified, both debts may be compensated against each other if all requisites of legal compensation are present. So, Article 1285, debtor who has consented to the assignment of rent made by creditor in favor of a third person cannot set up against assignee the compensation which will pertain to him against the assigner unless the assigner was notified by the debtor at the time he gave his consent that he preserve his right to the compensation. If the creditor communicated the cession to him but the debtor did not consent, the latter may set up the compensation of debt preview of the cession but not the subsequent ones. If the assignment made without the knowledge of the debtor, he may set up the compensation of all credits prior to the same amount, same and also latter ones until he had knowledge of the assignment. And when compensation has taken place before assignment, compensation take effect by operation of law or automatically the debts are extinguished to the concurrent amount. So, for example, A owes B 3,000 due yesterday and B owes A 1,000 due also yesterday. Both debts are extinguished up to the amount 1,000, hence A still owes 2,000 today. So, if B assigns his rights to C, the latter can collect only 2,000 from. So, however, if A gave his consent to the assignment before it was made subsequently, A loses the right to set up the defense of compensation. So, A will be liable to C for 3,000, but he can still collect the 1,000 owned by B. In other words, the compensation shall be deemed not to have taken place. So, when compensation has taken place after assignment, Article 1285 speaks for 3 cases of compensation which take place after assignment. Rights made by the creditor, one where the assignment is made with consent of the debtor, another where the assignment is made without the consent but with the knowledge of the debtor, and the third where the assignment is without knowledge of the debtor. So, for example, A owes B 3,000 due December 15, and B owes A 1,000 due November 15. B assigned his right to C on December 1 with the consent of A. On December 15, A cannot set up against C, assigning the compensation which would pertain to him against B, the assigner. In other words, A liable to C for 3,000, but he can still collect the 1,000 debt of B. So, however, if A while consenting to assignment reserved his right to the compensation, he will be liable only for 2,000 to C. So, Article 1286, compensation take place by operation of law, even though the debts may be payable at different place, but there shall be identity of express of exchange of or transportation of the place of payment. Compensation where the debts payable at different place. This article applies to legal compensation. The indemnity contemplated above does not refer to the difference in the value of the things in the respective places, but to the expense of money exchange and expenses of transportation. Once these compensations are liquidated, the debts become compensable. The indemnity shall be paid by the person who raised the defense of compensation. For example, A owes $1,000. A owes B $1,000 in New York, and B owes 26,000 equivalent amount payable in Manila. If A claims compensation, he must pay the expense of exchange. So that's it. So, Article 1287, compensation shall not be proper when So, Article 1287, compensation shall not be proper when one of the debt arise from depositum or from the obligation of depositary or bili in commoditum. Neither can compensate set up against a creditor who has a claim for support due by the gratuitous title without prejudice to the provision of paragraph 2. So, this provision talks about instances or situation when legal compensation cannot take place. So, una yung sa when one of the debt arise from depositum. So, for example, A deposit 10,000 in Metrobank. Pero later on, nagkaroon siya ng loan sa bank which is 5,000 pesos. So the bank can take compensation. Yes, because deposit in bank are actually governed by a contract of loan. Hindi yan contract of deposit. So don't be confused. Yung depositor dyan is actually the creditor and the bank is the debtor, so the bank can set up compensation. And number 2 is when one debt arise from commoditum. So, for example, B borrowed the car of A and A owes B 100,000 and then sabi ni B hindi na daw niya ibabalik yung kotse ni A kasi may utang si A kay B, because no compensation can take place when one of the debts arise from a commandatum. So yun, So, last, when one debt arises from a claim for support due by gratuitous title. For example, Boyet is the father of Raul, a minor, who under the law is entitled to be supported by Boyet. Now Raul owes Boyet 5,000 pesos. And Boyet cannot compensate his obligation to support Raul by what Raul owes him because the right to receive support cannot be compensated. So, hindi pwedeng sabihin ni Boyet na hindi niya bibigyan ng allowance si Raul kasi may utang siyang 10,000 5,000 kay Bokan. Hindi pwedeng sabihin ni Boyet na hindi niya bibigyan ng allowance si Raul in 1 year kasi may utang si Raul na 5,000 kay Boyet. So, yun. So, let's move on to Article 1288. Neither shall there be compensation if one of the debts consists in civil liability arising from a penal offense. Instance when a legal compensation is not allowed by law. 1. Whereof the debt arises from depositum, deposited constituted from the moment a person received things belonging to other with the obligation of safely keeping it, of returning the same. So, for example, A owes B 10,000 pesos and B in turn owes A the amount of 10,000, representing the value of a ring deposited by A with B, which B failed to return. In this case, B, who is the depositary, cannot claim legal compensation, even if A fails to pay his obligation. The remedy of B is to file an action against A for the recovery of the amount of 10,000. The relation of depository to the depositors is fiduciary in character since it based on trust and confidence. B claims for compensation against A would involve a breach of that confidence. But A can set up his deposit by way of compensation against B credit. This is an example of facultative compensation. The benefit granted by law is available to a depositor can be waived by him. So, yun. So, let's move on to Article 1289. If a person should have against his several debts with the susceptible of compensation, the rules on the application of payment shall apply to the order of compensation. Rules on application of payments apply to order of compensation. Compensation is similar to payment. If a debtor has various debts which are susceptible of compensation, he must inform the creditor which of them shall be the object of compensation. In case he fails to do so, then his compensation shall be applied to the most onerous obligation. So, for example, A is indebted to B in the amount of 10,000 without interest due today. 10,000 with interest of 18 due also today. And 10,000 with interest of 16% due yesterday. B owes A 10,000 due today. For purpose of the application of payment, A is the debtor. He must be specified to be which of the three debts should be compensated. If he failed to inform B, then the latter should apply no compensation to the second obligation of A, namely the obligation being the 18% interest because it is the most onerous obligation. So, yun. And let's move on to Article 1290. When all the requisites mentioned in Article 1279 are present, compensation take effect by operation of law and extinguish both debts to the concurrent amount even though the creditors and debtor are not aware of the compensation. Consent of parties are not required in legal compensation. Compensation takes place automatically by mere operation of law. From the moment all the requisites mentioned in Article 1279 concur, compensation takes place automatically. Even the absence of agreement between the parties extinguishes reciprocally both debts to the amount of their respective sums. It takes place by operation of law from day all the necessary requisites concur without need of consent on the part of the parties and even without their knowledge. And 2. Full legal capacity of parties not required as if takes place operation of law and without any act of the parties is not required that the parties have legal capacity to give or to receive as the case may be. So that's it. Section 5, compensation.
Article 1297, or the effect if the new obligation is void. In this article, if the new obligation is void, the old will subsist or babalik for the reason that the new obligation is void. Yun lang po yung sinasabi dito. Article 1298, effect if the old obligation is void or voidable. In this article, if the obligation it says Article 1298, effect if the old obligation is void or voidable. In this article, it says that if the old obligation is void, then the novation is void because there is no obligation. In order to understand that, we need to go to the example. Example, S agreed to deliver prohibited drugs to B. Later on, it was agreed that S would pay B 100,000 instead of delivering the drugs. So, the novation is void because the original obligation is void. Kasi nga, yung una dapat na i-deliver is drugs. Pero nung sumunod, pera. Article 1299, effect if the original obligation is condition. In this article, it talks about that if there is an attached condition on the old obligation, the new obligation will carry it also. But unless otherwise there is a stipulation disregarding it.
Article 1300. Subrogation of a third person in the rights of the creditor is either legal or conventional. The former is not presumed except in case expressly mentioned in this code. The latter must be clearly established in order that it may take effect. Take effect, meaning of subrogation. Subrogation is the substitution of one person, subrogee, in the place of the creditor, subrogor, which refers to a lawful claim or right giving the former all the rights of the latter, including the right to employ all remedies to enforce payment. And kinds of subrogation. Subrogation may be either conventional, when it takes place by express agreement of the original parties, the debtor and the original creditor, and the third person, the new creditor. And 2. Legal, when it takes place without agreement by operation of law. Conventional subrogation must be established in order that it may take place. Legal subrogation is not presumed except in the cases expressly provided by law. So, Article 1301, conventional subrogation of a third person requires the consent of the original parties and of the third person. Consent of all parties required in conventional subrogation. In conventional subrogation, the consent of all the parties is an essential requirement. Number 1, the debtor because he becomes liable under the new obligation to a new creditor. And number 2, the older creditor debtor is extinguished because his right against the. And 3, the new creditor distrusts the debtor because he may dislike or. So let's move on to Article 1302. It is presumed that there is a legal subrogation, and when a creditor pays another creditor who is preserved even without the debtor's knowledge, and when a third person not interested in the obligation pays with the express of tacit approval of the debtor, when even without the knowledge of the debtor, a person interested in the fulfillment of the obligation pay without prejudice to the effect of confusion as the latter share. Ang cases of legal subrogation. In the three cases enumerated, subrogation take place by operation of law even without the consent of the parties. Note that the subrogation is produced from payment when a creditor pays another creditor who is preserved. Example, A owes 10,000 secured by first mortgage on the land of A. A also owes C 20,000. This debt is unsecured or secured by a second mortgage. Under the law, B, who is preserved creditor, has preference to payment with respect to the land as against C, who is merely an ordinary creditor. If C pays the debt of A to B, C will be subrogated in B's right so that he can have the mortgage foreclosed in case A fails to pay the 10,000 debt. So let's move on to Article 303. Subrogation transfer to the person subrogated the credit with all the rights thereto appertaining either against the debtor or against the third person. We may be the guarantor or possessors of mortgage subject to stipulation of conventional subrogation. Effect of legal subrogation. The effect of legal subrogation is to transfer to the new creditor and the credit in all the rights and action that could have been exercised by the former creditor either against the debtor or against third person. Be they guarantors or mortgage, simply stated except only for the changes in the person of the creditor, the obligation subsists in all respect as before the novation. So, lastly, Article 1230. Article 1304. A creditor to whom partial payment has been made may exercise his right for the remainder and shall be preferred to the person who has subrogated in his place in virtue of the partial payment of the same credit. Effect of partial subrogation. The creditor to whom partial payment has been made by new creditor remains a creditor to the extent of the balance of the debt. In case of insolvency of the creditor, he given a preferential right under the above to recover the remainders against the. So, for example, D is indebted to C for 10,000. T pays C 6,000 with the consent of D. There is here partial subrogation as to the amount of 6,000. Then C remains the creditor with respect to the balance of 4,000. Thus, two credits subsist. In case of insolvency of D, C is referred to T, that is shall be paid from the asset of D ahead of T.